Today in history, we have something very special to share with our listeners. It is the 100th episode of What the Fuck. That's the thing that happened today. Also, other things happened today. For example, in 1975, American actress Angelina Jolie, who was known for her sex appeal and edginess, as well as her humanitarian work in that order, she was born. This is not to be confused with what happened in 1783, a very close by year, when Joseph Michel and Jacques Etienne Montgolfier launched an uncrewed hot air balloon into the stratosphere, which was the first public demonstration of the discovery that hot air in a large, lightweight bag rises.
Gesundheit.
So, a little bit of sexiness, a little bit of science is what we like to have here on this show.
Welcome to What the Fuck History, where we discuss the wackiest and weirdest things that make us say, well, what the fuck history. I am your host, Zachary, and tonight we will only be playing the greatest of hits.
My name's Megan, and this is a hot air balloon. Welcome to the 100th episode.
And I'm Matt. I'm pleased to introduce our special guest for the 100th episode. Steve is here. Steve?
Oh my god, I'm special?
Yes, you are.
You are special.
Aw, thanks guys.
You are beautiful.
I'm Steve, and I would just like to acknowledge the cartel in Mexico for having installed a female anti-Zionist, pro-Palestinian Jew as their president. And I think that's really progressive of them. They finally started listening to the people.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell
They
yeah.
finally did it.
There we go. So as we've mentioned a couple times in this intro that might get cut down and done differently for, our Patreon subscribers than it is for the regular listening public.
Chopped and screwed.
So if you haven't heard it yet, let me be the probably fifth person to tell you that this is our 100th episode. We've decided to bring Steve on because Steve is our friend first and foremost, but he's also the guy that we reference, I think, the most in this podcast. Like, literally once every probably 3 episodes, like 1 in 3. Maybe even more frequently than that. We mentioned that Steve will translate it for us, and like Steve did just yesterday. Send a
I always get like a tingle every time I get a shout out when you're recording.
He's got a spidey sense for it. What we're gonna do tonight actually is we're gonna talk. And Zach will probably dictate how this goes a little bit, but we're going to talk about our favorite episodes. We're going to bring up some of our Patreon supporters' favorite episodes. We're obviously going to be asking Steve for some of his favorite episodes, and we're just going to chat about it, and you guys get to be along for that ride. So if you've been with us for this long, thanks for being here. If you're new, why are you starting at the 100th episode?
A wild place to start, but hey, you do you, boo.
It's a little weird.
To you. But if you're using this as like a quick reference guide, I guess, to see where you should start,
not at the 100th episode.
We'd be happy to tell you.
Just work backwards.
Definitely don't start here,
but
like,
telling you to
if
leave,
you want,
I'm telling you, you'll be very confused.
Yeah, but if you want, get some ideas of like where to start from us, I guess.
Yeah, because we're going to tell you about the greatest and wackiest hits that we liked the best.
Yeah. So
Can I start?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, no,
my
definitely.
favorite stories.
I would love for you to start.
Okay, because I'm not gonna lie, it's one of the recent ones. It's the guy who farted a lot.
Brittany seemed to like that one too.
The guy who farted a lot was good.
Joseph Pujol. I was crying as I was telling that story. Like, my eyes were they were tears in my eyes.
Yeah, you sounded like you were having a hard time putting it together.
The thing is, that's not the first time I had told that story. I told that story at like 3 a.m. one morning to Alex, and I was like,
Yeah.
I like rolled over and I was like, you want to listen to a story? And he was like, sure. And I was like, the year is in the 1800s and you're a little French boy in the ocean. And then I just like started in on the whole story and he couldn't stop laughing too. It's such a funny... No one farts like that anymore. No one's
You
reporting
just don't
on
have
it.
people who fart like
Kids
that
these
anymore.
days just don't want to fart
know.
like that anymore.
They don't make
Kids
farts like they
these
used
days
to.
on... Yeah, nobody farts on TikTok. No one farts like they used to.
Yeah, that one was a really good one.
So that was one of...
I loved... That
I-
one had me on the fucking
yeah.
floor, for sure. Look, there's nothing funnier than a fart joke, and we've clearly proven that.
I know.
And we had an entire story.
It was a whole
Devoted
story
to the
about
fart
a fart
jokes.
joke. It was so good. The French
was a
just
really good one.
know how to entertain people, I think. Like, as much as we make fun of the French, they just, like, they truly know what gets people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good time.
They're
I
The
want
French
to...
are...
they're
Go
a
ahead.
specific breed, you know? Like, I as much as we
Yeah.
like to shit on the French, there are like a lot of stories that we have come up with that are just like, oh, it's the French being the French again, you know? Like, I think that also is like, we talked about, you know, the What the Piss history was a favorite episode
What the
of
piss?
Britney's.
What
Oh
the
my
piss?
god. I have not laughed so hard at an outro in my life. Megan consistently does these things. Like, she'll just come up with bangers.
It is the only outro
And-
that isn't Matt saying what the fuck history that has ever stayed. It's just what the
because
piss
it was so fucking good.
good.
There was no part of that, like, I was not expecting her to say
Yeah.
that. Zach was not expecting her to say that. And the fact that after she said it, we laughed for like a solid 5 minutes in spurts.
I think one of
Like-
my favorite things about this show is that the opening and the end is pretty much the only fucking scripted part, and everything in between is
That's
so like, it gets so fucking stupid sometimes that I'm just like, okay, where did we, like, again, how did we think of What the Piss history? Like, it comes out of...
It was because we were talking about
Well,
France.
no, like, I remember where it, like, came from, but, like, in the moment, you're like, holy shit, is that a thing that we actually put into an MP3 file to release to the public?
Yeah.
What is going
I
on?
know.
It's great.
Yeah. I'm also, like, going back through all of my notes, looking at some of my, titles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, some of the people in the Discord were saying that they wanted... can you just run through, like, a list of your favorite note titles?
Like, a list of my favorite
Yeah.
titles.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Because they couldn't
That's a-
remember your note titles, and God bless them if they could have, but, like...
I certainly couldn't. There's some good ones,
Yeah.
but it's just like,
No,
man, that's a lot
that's-
of titles.
Some of them are very obscure. Like, you can call me Auntie Papa.
Oh my god,
is
yes.
One.
The anti-pope?
Papa.
Yeah, that was about the anti-pope. One of them is called Gender is Made Up, but the espionage matters.
Was that the... That was the
That was-
person who was, like, a spy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From China.
Yeah, okay.
God's Russian surprise is about the meteor that blew up over Russia. That one's pretty good. The award for dynamite goes boom
Yep.
is Pretty
love that.
good.
I think the best part for
Let's
me is like
see.
a lot of these have snuck into actual episode titles just because it's like, man, it's already there for me. Like,
It's right there.
Yeah.
It's already there. Yeah, I
Some
have
of
one
the
that,
easiest.
oh, this one, Dear Messalina, count me in.
that one's good.
Classic.
Yeah, that one for all those all-time low fans out there. This one's long. It's Who Run the World, the Chinese, but for a brief period of time, these sisters gave them a run for their money.
Yeah, by Fallout Boy.
Boy.
It's like when you
Yeah,
accidentally it's like when you accidentally copy your notes into the title part of your notes and it's just all
Oh yeah,
giant
when
font.
you send
That's the subject
Yeah.
of your email right there.
Jeez.
that's the
Yeah.
when you accidentally send that off to your professor without
Yeah.
editing. I had one that this one's about hermits, but not the crabs.
I feel like
I
this whole podcast in certain sections has been an extended bit of like you email your professor the night before being like, hey, sorry, I got totally plastered. The essay's gonna be done, but it's gonna be weird. Like, and you're
Yeah.
drunk
You
and
submit
stupid.
at 11:59:54.
Yo, can I have 6 extra
Yeah.
hours? I'm up and doing it. It's just gonna take me a bit. Like, it's that drunken, like, ego that you can get it done that, like, this podcast seems to ride on
think-
sometimes.
I think the thing that's really kind of endearing about it, though, speaking like from my own perspective of why I haven't gotten bored, is that we do just enough research for us to be like, yeah, we know what we're talking about, but we also don't do like, it's not too much information. You know what I mean? So it's like you tell the story, but then if people are like, hey, wait, why? Like, I'm not here to tell you all the setup. I'm just here to tell you what happened when the last domino
Yeah,
fell.
I do think that there are, like, definitely, if I took the time to go back and, like, look at certain stories, I'd be like, I bet you there's more to some of them that I would, like, go back and, like,
Yeah.
try and be like, I could just do, you know, an hour by myself talking about it. But the fun thing is we kind of give ourselves, we don't always stick to it, but we try to give ourselves almost like a 20-minute per person time constraint of like, hey,
Yeah.
we got 3 of us here, sometimes more if we have a guest. We have to, you know, be courteous of...
We have to move it along. And of course,
Yeah.
we have had episodes where, you know, Zach really or mostly Zach, but sometimes me, have wanted to get like a little bit deeper into the like meat and potatoes of it all. So it's like this is a setup episode to talk about what happened,
Yeah, we've done
and then we'll have
multi-parts.
like multiple. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to briefly mention most of our Discord folks said that they liked hearing about Alice Roosevelt, which was one
Oh
of
my
the first
God, that
stories that we ever talked
so
about.
for
so
this.
early.
This is the
Yeah.
only prep I did
That
for the
was
100th episode.
so early.
I found out a couple more Alice Roosevelt facts that I figured I would share.
Hell yeah.
In Teddy Roosevelt's first 15 months as president, Alice attended 407 dinners, 350 balls,
Oh,
and
shit.
300 parties.
When did she sleep?
She didn't. That was the like.
If you know anything about Alice Roosevelt, you know that
She did. That seems pretty on par. And Emily Spinach, the snake, was called Emily Spinach because the snake was green. And even before her 18th birthday, when it was legal, she was regularly seen placing bets with bookies because she was
Yeah, there you
Alice
go.
Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. She was supposed to be sent to boarding school when Alice was younger, and after Teddy Roosevelt remarried, because her stepmother wanted her to be a perfect lady. And to that, Alice responded with, in a letter, if you send me to blank private school, I will humiliate you. I will do something that will shame you. I tell you I will.
I'll do something. I don't know what it is right now, but I got plans and they're cooking.
I'm fucking cooking. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do that's awful.
Literally.
But I'm gonna do
Cooking.
something awful. Yeah. So
My favorite thing about the Alice Roosevelt story was simply the line, I can run the country or I can handle Alice,
can't
but I
do both.
cannot do both.
Like that again. I think that's so funny because like we or a lot of people see Teddy Roosevelt as like a pinnacle of masculinity. And it's like, you know, he's able to do anything. He's the big macho man Teddy Roosevelt who is strong enough to kill a bear but kind enough not to. And he's literally like, this child has me at my rope's fucking end, boys. Like, I can't fucking take it anymore.
The child that I helped bring into the world.
Yeah, he's like, it's kind of one of those situations where like, I've done this thing and I immediately regret it.
Like, effectively, she runs the country.
Yes.
I mean, pretty much. Steve,
or has the guy who runs the country's balls in a vice.
That's
350 balls, to be exact.
I actually want to know, like, Steve, do you have like a favorite story?
I have
or like one that
several that I
sticks
really
out.
liked, but I wanted to talk about like I guess kind of where, to me, you guys finally found your rhythm and almost like call it inspiration or something. It was like talking about Procopius, and like basically his whole deal was that it was commentary, it was history, but there was some like liberties taken, and he was definitely biased in what he wrote about, but at the end of the day it was like commenting on like the rich people and the wars that were happening and stuff like that. And when you mentioned him and how it doesn't always have to be exact to get the idea, I was like, that's what the show is.
Yeah. I definitely think that aided us in like how we approached things, like even if we recognized it or not, because I think history as a subject, in my opinion, tends to come across as, I want to say, almost like a stuffy thing. Like, you have your outliers of fucking Indiana Jones, who's an archaeologist who runs around on adventures, but, like, you think history and you think old white dudes in tweed jackets smoking fucking cigars. Like, it's not a everyman's subject, even though it really should be. And I think the mentioning and like bringing forth of Procopius and the Procopius method kind of gave us that like rhythm and that like relax to be like, oh, okay, they didn't have it figured out back then. We don't have to have it figured out now. This is for entertainment as much as it is to learn. Like, it's great. I love that some people are like learning things from the show that we do that's just us hanging out and being stupid. But at the same time, it is entertainment, and it is fun to do, and it should be fun to listen to. And I think that hearing someone from history be like, yeah, history back then was fucky, you guys can be fucky with it now, it gave us that permission, I think.
Yeah. But Steve, what were some of the stories that you really liked listening to as not just our friend, but like as a fan of the show?
Yeah.
Guys, Steve has listened to every episode.
Actually, I've listened to every episode except one. Your second to most recent one. Because I waited till 3 came out, and then I listened to, like, boom, boom, and then I'm going back to the other one. So, all but one, and I'll listen to it, like, this week. So, by the time this comes out, I will listen to every single episode.
There you go.
So what have been your favorite stories to listen to, or like if you have one that really sticks out or two?
Okay, most recently, I would have to say the Latuga Bay story really resonated with me. Like, having learned about,
we were talking about this.
Yeah, having like I really enjoy reading folklore and stuff, like just for fun. So I'm trying to like I follow a different podcast that focuses on folklore from all over the world, and it's really cool.
That's cool.
I'll send it to you guys later if you want to like check it out.
Yeah.
But they're not paying us to promote, so I won't say the name on air. Just kidding.
Only if we get paid.
Yeah, drop it later, whatever. So yeah, listening or reading a lot of folklore from around the world and stuff, and how like when Megan was talking about how the local people, like the Tlingit tribe, they had stories that talked about these like phenomena that were going on, and how, as fantastical as other folklore might sound, like there's always some root of truth in it, like even science, to explain things that are happening. And I don't know, I that's the kind of stuff that really resonated with me. Also that Finnish sniper, that story is just badass as hell.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, Simo
Yeah.
Haya.
Simo Haya, yeah.
he's wild.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I remember that one.
I learned about
The
him.
White Death.
I learned about him of all places originally from like FIFA World Cup Edition 2006.
Oh my god.
And like the loading screens will just drop random facts about countries,
Oh my god.
and like he gets a shout out in FIFA.
Wow.
Wild. Absolutely wild.
Hyper specific, but
To bring it back to our Discordians, a lot of people were saying that they also enjoyed the Procopius method. They enjoyed. Sambi actually said that she enjoyed all of our like themed episodes, like the one about schmanibalism, and all the ones that are like related to people names. I said when I was in Discord that I am a big fan of like the times that we have unintentionally had a through line in our stories.
Yeah.
Where it's
oh,
like
yeah, we used to
came
do that a lot.
where we came to the podcast and it's like, oh, none of us planned to all be talking about the 1800s in London.
But here we are.
But it just happened.
Yeah. That is always a fun little surprise.
Yeah. Alex said that he likes how seriously I take my role as the podcast dad talking about World War II stories.
It's great. I think it's very funny that I mean I know all of us because we're friends, but there is something very funny that I think how our personalities shine through when we do the podcast. Like I think I tend to be more goofy until I find something that I think is a really serious topic, and then I'm like, nope, it's important, I gotta talk about it. And like I think that is very reflective as who I am as a human being. And like Matt is the World War II history dad, and I think that speaks very much to his personality. And Megan's always got something that's like completely out of left field.
Which is really just Megan as a person.
And it's all in like this really fun way that like I know because I am friends with you. Whereas like I'm so happy to see that joy that I have being able to be gifted to other people.
I am kind of wondering, now that you've said it though, that like me being the podcast dad that's interested in World War II, like what does that mean about my personality?
I think you're a person who tries to comfort other people and like has a very like, hey, if you don't understand something, I'll teach you.
Oh, so the dad portion of it.
And but like also
got it.
To me again, like
Well, you also move us along. Like you kind of keep us on a track. You're like, okay, like the story's been going on, or like we've been talking about it for a good amount of time, like, well, let's move on to the next story.
Yeah.
So I think like a lot of the time, like in the middle of the podcast, you are sort of the driving force that keeps us on a rail.
Yeah, absolutely. Like
it's my years of having to manage you guys as a DM as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, and that's true, and that's kind of where it comes from. Like I see you personally as a very caring, like heartfelt person, but also you're there keeping us on some kind of track. It's a little wobbly, but it's some kind of track,
Yeah, while also being as goofy as I can about stuff, unless I find it serious as well. So,
but with that said, I do want to touch that I am very happy that this show, for all of its goofs and gags, has never been one to shy away from, hey, this is important, it's scary, and it's not as fun. We're giving you the warning, but it's important.
Yeah, but we're going to talk to you about it.
Because I think that is important. Like, we have a platform, and we need to say something. Like,
we need to be able to say that Bush did do 9/11.
It's not even controversial at this point.
Oh, yeah.
If you're listening to this podcast, you
Not
think so
even
too. All right,
controversial.
let's be real.
Yeah.
you just don't
We're
give a
in the
shit.
same boat as us. But, like, no, like, we have never, like, shied away from saying, hey, this is a bad thing. It should be...
Yeah, this one's not comfortable.
Well, not only that, but even, like, in our commentary, like, we joked that the bingo card was going to have us complaining about the American healthcare system, and we haven't stopped complaining about it because it's funny to do so in certain times, but also, it's bad, and we should continue to say it's bad. Like, we've never...
We should,
We used
for
to
sure.
have the bingo card.
Yeah, can we talk for a second about abandoned bits?
Yeah, that is a good point. That was an abandoned bit, but...
Yeah,
I mean-
we had for those of you who don't remember, we would have like, oh, if you like didn't
If you had
already
made
cross
fun
off-
of the American
made fun of,
government on
like-
your bingo card.
yeah, or the healthcare, or like bitching about the healthcare system, or like, you know, saying eat the rich, like
Yeah.
you could mark that off of your bingo card.
We used
but
to make
stopped
references
doing
to the
that.
bingo card
Look,
a lot.
I don't think they're abandoned
we
bits.
did.
I think that they're vaulted bits. We've just put them away for safekeeping until...
Now that we've remembered it in this episode, we're going to bring it up.
Now that we're, like, having a non-senile moment, we can, like, remember that those bits exist.
Speaking of which, intern Kyle
shit.
is dead.
Oh yeah, I forgot about intern Kyle.
yo,
Oh shit, Steve's like, oh man,
we
I remember
forgot
that
to give
guy.
him food
That
and
was
water.
that was back when I was living in my condo.
Oh, yeah.
It was always just so much easier to
have
like
his hoodie.
yell for an intern.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never gave it back.
Intern Kyle? Oh, that's right, because
Yeah,
you
it was
came over
He
that
gave-
one time.
He gave
my
me a hoodie.
gosh.
Like, what a
Rest
good
in
guy.
peace, Kyle.
What a guy.
What
His
a good
family
guy.
will miss him
Not that you
dearly.
ever need hoodies in Arizona.
Oh, yeah. Like, a little too hot for hoodies, but...
I do want to point out, and I know that I've like kept it as part of my intro shenanigans, but we did used to try and play a game of rock,
Scissors.
paper, scissors before every episode
Yeah.
to determine who was going when.
I know.
And then
I
I
even
think
had
it-
dice. I had
it
rock
be-
paper scissors dice.
Yeah, you did, and it became unfeasible and untenable for us to continue doing
Yeah,
that,
I think...
because we couldn't determine what it meant when one of us won
Yeah,
or lost.
I think I would be open to returning to the rock, paper, scissors format on a couple of conditions. One of them being if we all had the ability to have video so we could see each other.
We used to do that
We-
too. You guys don't know this because we've never released any
Video?
We didn't record video at the
Yeah.
time. But like before each podcast when we were filming the After Dark, we used to all turn on our cameras, but that was in the middle of a pandemic, so we never got to see each other anyways. So we would always just turn on our cameras and sit for like 15 minutes just shooting the shit.
Yeah.
So
The other thing is I
you know.
upgraded from my shitty decade-old MacBook to a real desktop that can actually handle the processing power of this podcast now.
Well, Zach and I have also switched positions, I think. I was in a very well-lit room, and now I'm in a basement. And at the time, Zach was
Basement.
in a basement,
Yeah.
and he's probably in a decently
I
lit room.
am in a decently lit room that
I've
I don't
always
turn the
been where
lights
I
on
am.
in because I like the dark.
I'm kind of the same way.
Oh, okay.
I'm like,
So,
Freak.
to do my job as the podcast dad, Zach, do you have any stories that like you've really enjoyed telling or that are your favorites?
So I think I'm gonna give a little bit of extra credit here for myself.
Extra
Yeah.
credit.
I really personally liked the bear, World War II bear that you talked about, Matt.
World War
Oh,
II.
yeah,
Wojak.
Wojak.
I loved hearing you talk about that because it was nonstop. Like, what the fuck is going on? And we were dying laughing at that when you told that story, Matt.
Yeah.
Megan, I think
We were.
your whole bit about the pole sitting when we were,
Oh, pole.
Oh, when we were talking to the
sitting.
most?
I think that was profoundly hilarious.
Didn't we name the podcast that? Because she was like, "Where does the poop go?"
Yeah,
and that was like,
the name of the episode was Where Does the Poop
That
Go?
was the name of the
poop
episode?
go?
Yes. That one, yes. Where Does the Poop Go is one of my favorites that Megan has done. And for me personally, it's a toss-up between the episode that just got released, where I talked about the fucking German mercenary
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
who was insane.
I liked your sword one.
The Gujian sword.
The Chinese sword one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked that one.
That one was a lot of
That
fun
one was
too.
really cool.
But for me, it's a toss-up between
I
that.
couldn't stop looking at the sword.
Yeah, I want the sword. I want that sword.
I want the sword.
Yeah, but for me, it is a toss-up between the mercenary there or one that that Karina, one of the people that we have on our Discord there, Karina mentioned, which was the Pepsi Navy, which was
Yes.
Oh, the Pepsi
it
Navy.
is
That was like episode
It
2.
was episode 2, and it was like the most batshit thing. I don't remember where I read it, but I was like, it made me say, "What the fuck?" And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is something I have to talk about because it is so like. And there are other things. There's actually a documentary that just got released about a guy trying to get a helicopter from Pepsi because there was like a contest where basically.
Yeah. There was a contest and they lied about
And
it.
they lied about it. So, like, there's more Pepsi shenanigans that can be delved into. And I
We can definitely talk about the Pepsi
but
shenanigans.
for me,
Oh, wait, Zach, I just remembered another story that you
About Pepsi.
had.
yeah.
What me and Matt made fun of this guy's name for ages.
Okay.
Mathgar?
no,
he was
wasn't
like-
it the
Oh,
Irish guy?
Yes, Mathgamane.
It was the Irish guy.
Mathgamane.
Yeah. Mathgamane.
We lost our
What's
minds
funny
about Mathgamane.
Is that one of the kids at the building where I work started calling me Mathamix soon after the Mathgamane episode, and I was just like, what's happening right now?
Yeah.
They're not like the same, but I was like, this is an equally
It's close
confusing math name. Yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah. I think that is Mathgamane is one of
Fucking
my
Mathgamane.
favorite. I mean, I've loved telling a lot of my Beef Boys from History story, where whether it was the one guy who held the bridge against all those people until that guy came up and stabbed him from underneath, the Berserker, or Mathgamane,
Yeah.
or just all the people in history who have been like, fuck it, we ball. Like that.
But you also have like
Ball.
the Gentleman Crimesman, and most recently like the Gentlewomen's Crimesman.
Yeah.
Which is like really, I think it's cool that you've been able to find like some of like a through line that's these people that are like, they're not good people, but they are not complete assholes
Yeah,
either.
I mean to be honest, my process for finding stories, because like I was having a discussion with Liz one day where she was like, "How do you?"
Elizabeth.
Yes. She was like, "How do you find all of this stuff?" And I was like, honestly, the thing is I see one thing and I go, "Oh, that's cool," and then 45 minutes to 90 minutes later, I am down a rabbit hole and I have about 40 tabs open on Google. Like,
Right.
That's true.
It's just, that's how my neurodivergent brain goes, and all of a sudden I now have fodder for like
Neurodivergence goes.
neurodivergence go brr. Yeah, exactly. And it's just one of those things where it's like, all right, well, now I have 50 stories that I haven't typed notes out for because I'm so bad at doing notes until hours beforehand.
Just
I'm not.
just
I'm
Do the opposite.
Just
Megan has 10 in the pocket.
Yeah, just
Yeah, just combine them.
Yeah, let
combine
me
'em.
combine them.
Just combine
get
them, bro.
good. Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like I find all my stories while I'm at work at a library. I'm just like, wow, look at all these books. Let me crack one
Crack open a book.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I mean, but that's
like
fantastic.
a really great way.
I love that for you.
It definitely
Yeah.
is.
I'll just crack open a book. Like one of them was about Jewish golems, and I'm just
hell
like,
yeah.
I'm gonna look up golems.
Yeah, that the mythology of the golem
It
is
is
really
really
cool
cool.
too.
Yeah. Let's just see where this leads me.
I want to say how fucking weird it is, or how weird it's been to like have fans.
Yeah. It is.
Because like I think the first time that Karina started like talking to me and saying like, "Hey, what kind of music do you like in the Discord? Like, what kind of music does everybody like, or like Alex or Brittany or anyone else?" Brittany fully made me laugh one time when she's like, "So how do you guys all know each other?" And it's like, none of us. I think Alex was the one that was like, "I don't know any of these people."
I don't know any
And it's like, imagine if it was just our friends paying for our Patreon, but it was like one of those really weird realizations where it's like, oh my God, this is a person that only knows me from the internet.
Yeah.
And they're interacting with me about like, it was such a weird experience, but it's been really kind of nice to be able to have conversations with people outside my regular sphere.
Yeah.
Being taunted with pictures of the forest is not so great, but
Yeah, I mean, can't do anything about that.
you really can't. I would have to go back in time and not mention a certain cryptid.
And we don't have the power of time travel yet.
We don't. Not anymore. We lost the keys to the Ford
It's in
Tacoma.
the shop, and the keys are
Oh,
gone.
the Ford Tacoma! We haven't brought the Tacoma up
I
in a
have
while.
talked about.
We have
okay,
not, yeah.
I'm talking about marketing Zach here. Marketing Zach has talked about the Tacoma quite a lot. I also feel like I would be remiss if I didn't talk about some of the other people who have not. They're not our patrons, and we give a lot of love to our Patreon subscribers because they give us money and they give us their time and they give us,
Well, it's also the ones that Megan and I see.
fun things to gag about. But there are some other people who have historically reached out in the past on Instagram and other things like that. Zoe, Liz, a couple of other people. I'm trying to look at our list of people here.
Justin, man.
Justin?
Yeah, fucking Justin. Hell yeah.
Justin, who is the first
Justin!
ever. He was he reached out to us on, what was it, Instagram, and he's like, I've listened to your podcast episodes twice.
Yeah.
And that was at a point when we had 18 episodes out.
Yeah.
And we were just like, God, he must really love the sound of our voices.
Yeah. We were
So that's the episode that was called,
I
I think it was
This
called
Just
This
In.
Just In,
Yep.
Alex mentioned. Yeah. Was
Yeah,
just us
I
praising our
forgot.
very first
Yeah.
fan.
I forgot about
I
Justin.
could never forget about
How could
Justin.
you?
It's
I know.
I
Sorry.
think that talking about it's weird to have fans. Yeah, because a lot of them have reached out and been like, this is so nice to hear from
Yeah.
people who say you're doing good and we like the thing you're doing.
Yeah.
I know. I don't talk in the Discord really because I'm bad at checking Discord.
Yeah.
But every so often I'll come back to like 100 messages of like everyone's conversations, and they'll like be talking about the episodes, or like you guys will just be having a conversation, and like it is nice that like that is happening.
Yeah.
Nice and very weird at the same time.
It's like it's weird in the sense that like these are strangers sort of united by something that they found on the internet, but
And that we are
also,
the thing that they found?
Yeah, but isn't that like the best of what the internet can kind of
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
Like, it brought random people together because they liked listening to historical stuff that wasn't too serious, and then they kind of like found a bit of a community to go with that.
Oh, yeah. And
Yeah,
I
it
think
is
it's
nice.
also interesting to like see other people who have like enjoyed that as well, even if they haven't been like part of that community. Like, it was really cool to have the most on when we had the most on. It was really cool to have historical blunders on, which was a recent guest spot that we had. You know,
we also the other thing that we did very early on was Zach reached out to the Radium Girls, the band.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For the Radium Girls episode, and like they played at the end of one of our episodes.
Yeah, we got permission to use their music at the end of our episodes.
And that was really cool.
I haven't spoken about my favorite episode yet.
Yeah.
And we'd love to know.
Or my favorite story to tell. And I think what's wild is, like, anytime that I'm telling people that they should be, or like anytime that I'm talking about our podcast, which, you know, isn't really all that often anymore, because back when we first started, I was telling my coworkers and I was telling like people that I met online and shit that I did a podcast. But they would always say, and this is probably true for you guys as well, like, where can I find it, and what episode should I start with? And I'm typically always of the mindset, and I lead people to this episode because it's one of my favorites, or it was one of my favorite stories to tell, was the Terrare episode, which was our first Halloween episode. And I think, as Steve was mentioning earlier when we were talking about like finding our stride or like hitting our stride, for me, the Terrare episode was the first one where it really felt like our rhythm was really good. Mm-hmm. Like, we had all brought obviously spooky stories because it was a Halloween episode, but I really felt like we were doing a lot of really good give and take. Terrare was just such a fucking wild character to talk about that I always like. So I'm always like, that was one that I really liked. I genuinely love talking about some of the World War I stories or World War II stories, because like those are really interesting. Because if you set like a story about people playing soccer in the middle of no man's land in World War I, like, just to think about some of those stories and the history behind them is really cool. But if we're talking about, now I have to go back into my notes and sort of look at something more recent. I think, you know, one of the more recent stories that I really enjoyed talking about, can't find it now.
Can you give us a hint?
No, I can't. I don't even remember. But like I've told some really, like, some stories that I thought were really interesting. Like John Medicine Crow was really cool to look up. Just because like Zach said, or like Megan said, you know, you catch something in your eye that's just like, this was the last person to be, you know, be given the title of like a war chief because they did all these things in battle, and you're like, okay, that's cool. And then when you're sitting there trying to think of like, what am I going to talk about on the podcast tonight, that sentence kind of springs to mind, and then you type it into Google, and all of a sudden you're down a rabbit hole where you're like, this is some shit that people probably don't know about, and I'd love to bring to their attention.
And I think the other thing is we have gotten very good at being like, before a podcast, before we start recording, of, hey guys, this episode is not as big, or this episode is really big, or this episode's medium-sized and has a lot of room for goofs. Like, we're very good at, like, expressing that to each other.
We talk about it before.
Yeah.
Like, before, because I have stories usually, like, ready to go, so it's a little bit easier for me to be like, oh, well, what kind of stories did you guys write? Because I can sort of like tailor.
And thank
right?
the gods
like,
that
if you guys
do
have
work
longer
before
stories.
we do.
Well, I mean, it's not to like toot my own horn. It's more like what you were saying, where like if you guys have longer stories coming to the table, like we don't need 3 long stories.
No, Megan, please toot away. You deserve it. Like,
yeah,
but no, like
it just like it makes the episodes like a little bit, you know, not cohesive, but we can fit within the time frame, because like 3 stories, if you think about it, is a lot. Like
it's a lot of information.
And there's
a lot of
quiz
information
at the
that we
end.
pump at
I don't know if
people
you guys
like
ever
within the
catch
course
that.
of an hour.
Yeah, dude.
wait, have they not been doing
yeah,
this quiz?
some of our
But I did the work.
some people
so I
might
want you
not
to
have
check
been doing the
That's
quiz.
really
It happens
important.
way after.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there was a quiz, and I feel like I'm a TA.
All right. Well, strikes all around for people who haven't been doing the quizzes.
No,
Still
thank you.
strikeless.
No, but I think going back to, you know, Zach's point here, I think there's a level of horn tooting that can be done by all of us. You know, I was praising Zach before the podcast when I was talking to myself in the void about like all the editing work that he's done since like
praise Zach.
And having to adapt to like having the time in COVID to do it, and then when COVID restrictions lifted, like still being able to pump out episodes, as well as the additional like after dark stuff, and like just handling all that is really nice. I was giving praise to Megan as well about like her artistic abilities, and then I said that I just show up with a loud voice, which is, you know, my contribution because work sucks.
I know. She
I
left
know.
me roses,
She left me
tears.
roses. So it's but it is really cool that like, and I was saying in Zach, Megan, and I's private chat that it's just really cool that this was a dumb idea that we started on a night of playing D&D that like we actually stuck with, and it feels nice to have actually
a pandemic project too, no less.
Yeah, pandemic project.
It was a pandemic project.
Well,
Speaking of which, where's my sourdough starter?
Bruh. Oh,
Speaking of which,
now you want me to want some fucking sourdough. Oh.
That's a fucking throwback.
Hey, look, I still like bread making. I just haven't done it in a while.
I just thought it was a fun thing that everyone
briefly
found in the
created a
pandemic.
shortage.
They were all just like, look, I'm making bread.
My next thing is to try to start making... Yeah, right? I'm going to start trying to make yogurt soon.
Yeah, didn't it? It's easy in an Instapot.
It is really
you're a
easy.
man of
I just eat so
culture.
much yogurt, and it's so fucking expensive.
Yeah, you gotta Instapot that.
Yeah, hey!
Oh, stop it.
Yes, thank you!
Stop it.
Bring it.
No.
And that's a strike for Steve.
What?
I actually have a
everybody's-
I have a question
Bring
for
it.
Steve. Steve, what, like, if you can think of it off the top of your head, being the person that, like, texts us later after the episode is already aired and saying, hey, this is actually how you pronounce something, what has been the most awful or egregious mispronunciation that you have been like, these people are, I'm surrounded
All right.
by idiots? Like,
All right, so
Who gave these people a
who gave
platform?
these people has there been one that's made
before
you be
I
like,
answer
yeah,
damn
that
it, I
question,
can't believe
I would
this?
like to preface by saying that I consider myself more of a descriptivist linguist. Therefore, when I hear somebody say something quote unquote incorrect,
Okay.
I just think to myself, wow, that's interesting. I wonder how they arrived at that pronunciation. Like,
I'm so happy you're saving our fucking egos during this, Steve. But like, I asked because
It
I
is
need to
so
know.
no, truly,
interesting.
truly, it's like,
That's so interesting. I wonder
I'm
how
not saying
they
it
just
has
like
to be a
pulled
priority
up.
for the show. It's just like that's where my brain goes first. I like look up, you know, where they're from, you know, what language they speak there, and how they would say the word, and that's just like the first thing I do. But for you guys, most recently,
But does anything
probably
stand
Zach
out?
with the what was the like Iron Fist German guy? Yeah, he was like
Yeah.
yeah. It was like
Hans
yeah, you like left
Berlicher?
out an entire syllable. It was like Berlichinger. Berlichinger, yeah.
Beliching
Oh,
Thank you.
it's-
That
Got it.
I knew it would be something
Yeah,
like I
it's
knew I was gonna
Götz
goof
von
that up, but like I
Berlichingen.
was like, ah,
That's what it was. And I was just like, well,
yeah, that guy.
the first
Nice.
letters are in the right positions.
I think. I wonder how you got there.
Yeah,
I do legitimately love that in any situation where we're encountering like a language barrier, all of us collectively, when we
That's it.
encounter those, just say it with confidence, and Steve will correct us afterwards.
and I think that's like I think your view on like, hey, how do I like see how this might have been said, and like I think that is a very good way to like approach language, especially language you don't know. I think that's brilliant, and I'll try to start doing it, and maybe having you tell me I mispronounce things less. But I think it's also funny to be like, hey, a language is a fascinating thing, and when there's a big cross section of language and history, where you know a culture is informed, and the way a group of people speaks is informed by the culture around it and like the culture that is built. So language is always going to be something we talk a lot about. So I think it is so interesting to like come across and be like, I pronounce things a very specific way, and I'm going to try to pronounce this words that is not in my vernacular whatsoever, but I'm going to give it the
Exactly.
best I got, and to come at that.
I'm gonna give it.
I'm going to give it hell no
And, like,
matter what.
on the
And
other
sometimes
side
it will
of
be hell.
though,
Sometimes
it's
I
also
will be
like,
awful.
This is a recurring bit. Like, it's funny to not say them right and just be like, Procopius, and keep going. Like,
Yeah.
I get it. I do. And it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the
Yeah.
next thing I was going to say. It was like,
Especially
there
with the
works on
French.
multiple levels because of that recurring joke as well about the French. Or is it real? I don't know. We'll never say. Is that how they actually feel? Right? So that's good.
We'll
Like,
never
by
say,
all means,
yeah.
keep doing exactly what you're doing. Like, it's kind of expected at this point, and that in and of itself, you know, is another
Yeah.
thing that makes you guys unique.
Yeah.
What I also love about the we'll consult Steve about this, or we'll tell Steve, or Steve will tell us, is that we then do not tell the audience.
Yeah.
Like, there's never been a point where Steve comes up to us and says, hey, you mispronounced this, where we then get in the episode and go, Hey guys, just want to let you know that Steve has informed us this is how it's supposed to be said. We really kind of just like say the thing, say Steve will correct us. Steve then corrects us privately.
And then we say nothing.
It's like
and we just carry on with life.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of nice. It's a personal journey. It's a
that's my
he
philosophy
teaches us and
exactly.
we
It's
don't.
like I looked it
You know
up.
what? They can
Y'all can look it up or don't. Like it's whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that like it is funny that we don't
Like a
ever
magazine that has
course-correct
that
on
section
that
for like
either.
retractions
Like,
and edits from the previous issue.
Yeah.
You know,
we don't have that.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
We have
basically
a
just like
we have a
blanket
footnote
disclaimer,
that
like,
we didn't
this
bother
is what
putting
you
in the
get
book.
and
Yeah.
like it or don't. We will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I and again,
Blanket disclaimer, we will get it wrong. It is not... You don't get to
yeah.
tell us.
This show is historically factual. It's not pronounced right, but it's historically factual.
But I also do love the, like, situations where we've also been like, I did 30 minutes of research into this. Do not at me if you find a
counter argument.
a part of this that's
Yeah.
wrong. Or like, I think I've said on several episodes where it's just like, hey, if this is wrong, you can correct me respectfully.
Yeah.
But like, otherwise, shut up about it.
I'm just trying to do a thing, guys. Relax. Yeah.
I know that we had said that we were trying to keep this episode at about an hour, and it's been about an hour and 18, which does not...
Which I think we've said most of like.
We've covered it. We've said the things.
We've
Yeah.
said the things. We've definitely
We've said
covered
the things, and it
Do you
has
guys
been
have
nice,
any...
like, getting,
looking back
Oh,
on
do
it,
you-
I guess the last question that I have is, do you have any stories that you wish you had done better? Or is there anything that, like...
Oh yeah, I wish that the Oneida episode hadn't gotten lost.
it. The lost episode.
Right. Was that the one that
Yeah.
we've had... On this podcast, we've had approximately 3 lost episodes, I believe.
I believe so.
Or 2.
Yeah. We've
There
had
were-
2 that got messed up, and
There was one that Megan and I strangled in the crib. And then there was
Yeah,
another
and
one that Zach's mic had been
Yeah.
iffy. But he fixed his mic, and then come to find out that the vocal glitches that had been happening on the mic were still happening. They just, like, we didn't
Yeah.
hear them, but
It sucks.
Audacity
Yeah.
picked it. So we
Yeah.
lost, like, a full episode.
Yeah, and one of those episodes was like the Oneida silverware cult, and I like really loved that
Oneida, New
story,
York.
but I haven't retold it because it is like kind of longer. But like, yeah, Oneida, New York, and I liked that episode because we had a lot of like really good back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We spent a good amount of time like talking about it. And then we
I think it's so funny that you talk about the Oneida silverware because I was going to say that one of my favorite stories was that story until I realized that
That it
episode
never
it
made
never
it.
got
to
released.
see the light
Yeah,
of
it
day.
never made it.
It will someday.
Yeah.
We'll be able to tell it.
Yeah.
We'll be able to tell it, but yeah, I like it is one of the ones where I'm like, man, I wish like that episode had actually made it through, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like in the course of doing this, we're always going to have like people always have technical issues.
Yeah.
I am triggered though every single time like we go to export audio and you know I'm like, is it
Is
gonna
it gonna
work?
work? Is it gonna?
Please.
As a joke, a couple of times I've gotten off. Like we've finished recording and I'm like, shit, guys, I don't have any of that.
I know, and I hate it.
And I had to very quickly stop doing that bit because Megan would like, without being able to see her, I could sense the change in her personality as I was like, oh, guys, I didn't have that. You could just hear the wind come out of her sails and she'd be like, seriously?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, this joke's not funny.
It hurt a couple of times. I won't lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Well, I
very
mean,
quickly
it's just-
realized
I don't
that
know.
I should not be making that particular joke.
But I guess to like sort of like end the
Highlight
episode,
reel.
do you guys want to hear more of my titles?
Yes.
I would love to hear a few more, yeah.
All right, so we have, and I said, what about cursed Italian tea cakes at Tiffany's?
Yeah.
That one was good. Then we have, following up, the French aren't allowed to touch the telescopes. That's
Well,
just,
which one was that about?
when they, Halley's
Yep,
Comet came around
Oh, right,
in
okay.
1910, and the French were like, holy shit, we're gonna die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Building Jesus from the ground up was about Mecha
Yep.
Jesus.
Yes, Mecha Jesus.
Mecha Jesus. And then we had. Oh, yeah, I called it Free Love on Mid-Ranged Priced Silverware.
That's right.
Oh, that was the
easily,
Oneida.
yeah.
The Oneida community one. Yeah. That's not a fun title. That one's kind of boring. Hold on.
Yeah, give us one more. Give us one more
Yeah.
banger. And then we'll
Okay,
have
hold
Zach
on.
do the socials.
Hold on. No, not the Japanese have an LA. No, not that one. No, there's one that's like the Barbie movie.
And this is where we fade to black.
No. Yeah, it's just me. It's just me trying to find a really good one that like. That one's kind of funny. No, that one's boring. That one's kind of funny, but it's not the one that I'm looking. The Vicious Crimes of Lobster Boy.
Oh, that one was also really good.
And then it's followed up by another story, which I don't know what this is about. I don't know what I told the story. Shark Boy turned Lord Mayor.
Oh, yeah.
What-
I remember that one.
You remember that one? That's crazy. Because I don't. I just
I
say
remember we
things,
made a bunch of Shark Boy and Lava Girl comments on that one.
We absolutely
we did.
did.
Make a lot of. Yeah, there is this one. Knock knock. It's Dickens, bitch.
Yep.
All right, Megan.
That one.
Find one more good
That's the one.
notes title,
There it
and then
is.
we have to close it out.
Be bisexual, eat hot chip, lie, and murder.
There we go.
Yep.
There we go.
All right, Zach, you want to take it away with our
Hey,
socials?
folks. Thanks for joining us for the wild celebration that has been the 100th episode of What the Fuck History. We really appreciate you being here, whether you jumped on at episode 100 or episode 1 or somewhere in between. Also, if you're here at episode 100 and you haven't listened to any others, what the fuck are you doing? We appreciate it, but what the fuck?
Yeah. Come on, guys.
We appreciate everyone who actually commented and said some of their favorite stuff. We got a lot of messages, and that was really fun. We really appreciate all of our Patreon members, all of our people that we talk to on Discord, and just everyone who has helped really support this show. 100 episodes is huge, and it's kind of
More than we thought we'd make.
it's bewildering to think about. But if you want to continue to help us and you want to continue to support us, follow us on our social medias. You can find us, the Triumvirate Productions, on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram at _Triumvirate_Productions. And you can follow us on Patreon if you want to support us with a little bit of money. Patreon.com/Triumvirate Productions, where you can join the 1 strike, 2 strike, or 3 strike levels. And man, I just can't say it enough. Thank you all for being here for 100 episodes.
Yeah. I mean, I can't do anything but echo that sentiment. So in classic What the Fuck History fashion, and in classic What the Fuck History fashion with a guest, we are going to close the episode out by asking the question that we ask at the end of every episode. Steve, take it away.
For the 100th goddamn time, what the fuck history?